up, everyone? This is Adam Quiney, and today I'm going to talk about waiting until you're ready. So this is kind of a nebulous concept, and I was thinking about it, and I just want to riff on it a little bit, because one of the ways that people really sabotage themselves, really hold themselves back from what they can achieve is waiting until they're ready to take something on. The ready can look a whole bunch of ways. So here are some ways of readiness, some of the things people wait for before they are kind of ready, willing to take that next step that they're talking about. So people might, like readiness for people might look like, I've got enough money. It might look like I have enough time. It might look like life has settled down. It might look like life has sped up. It could look like I've got the experience. That's a really common way that people wait until they're ready. It might look like, I'm not sick. That's relevant for me right now. It might look like the weather changes. We could create a million different ways of looking at this. So ultimately, these are all ways of putting things off. And if you have been in the realm of personal development at all, you're probably familiar with concepts like the power of now, Eckhart Tolle's power of now, or even there's a famous Buddha quote where he says, the problem is that you think you have time. Time is this concept we've created as humans that like there's something beyond this moment and there's something in the past of this moment. And we let those two things dictate what happens in this moment. Readiness is one of those places where we're allowing the future and the past to dictate what happens right here in this moment. So I'm not suggesting that there's not situations where competence or whatever it happens to be, whatever it is you're trying to create is important or is needed to move forward. But what I notice is that we could probably build out a percentage, like 80% of the time when people are waiting to get ready, waiting for that thing that's going to then have them ready to take the leap, that is unnecessary. And in fact, if they were to just take that action that they're waiting on, it would bring them to a state of readiness infinitely faster, exponentially faster. This is one of the crazy things about coaching that creates exponential, almost miraculous growth, is that your coach doesn't stand for that. As a coach, I stand for people to take that step before they're ready. Of course, in their head, it's before they're ready. Really what I mean is before they've created all of these circumstances that they think are necessary to take the action that they're scared to take. The truth is that when you take that step, the step that you don't feel yet ready for, you create the requirements to be ready for it in doing so. When you actually lean in, when you actually take that scary step, that's when you build your readiness. That actually has you generate what is required. So for example, when people are looking at taking on work with a coach and they are looking at the price tag and they're like, wow, $15,000 for a year of coaching, that's a lot of money. Well, here's what I want to do. I want to spend a year and I'll save up. I'm going to save up $1,000 every month. And then that'll get me halfway there. And then next year I can continue to do that. So then in a year's time, I'll have, in a year's time, I'll have half of it saved up and then I'm comfortable spending the money month to month and it'll all work out. And what they're kind of trying to do is make themselves feel comfortable with the discomfort of leaning fully in, of fully pushing forward. The truth is that when people actually commit to something, regardless of the circumstances in their lives, when they actually lean in and push into something, it creates something magical. It creates a container. Their commitment is a container where they then don't have a choice but to create that readiness. So it's a little bit unclear. I want to kind of pull it apart a little bit. The way it really works is that when someone, if we look at that example I was giving, that person, what's all likely is going to happen, and most coaches listening to this video are going to nod their heads. So they're going to say, oh yeah, I'll set aside $1,000 a month and then, I'll have this much. And if we check in with that person in a year's time, they're going to tell us all the reasons, all the circumstances that showed up that prevented them from setting aside that money. Now, if they actually commit to it, that's not going to happen. If they were to hire that coach right now and say, I will go into debt or mortgage my house or lie, cheat, and steal, or borrow from friends, or GoFundMe, or whatever it is, in order to create that income, and then sign on the dotted line, and then actually live into that commitment, it's going to pull them forward. That commitment pulls them forward. It almost forces them to show up in a way that is completely different. You can see this with like a car, right? When people buy a car, they make those payments for the most part. That purchase of that car creates a commitment. And then from that commitment, you actually take action that you are much less likely to do so every month without that contract that you've signed. And so the catch, the gotcha, the trap is people thinking that they're reliable to take those actions to get themselves to a state of readiness, and then they will take that step that they're scared of taking. The truth is, if something's really scary for you to take, you're going to subtly and passively create opportunities, situations, and ways of not taking that scary step. So you'll perpetually be pushing off your readiness. And if we just go back to that example again, let's say that person did save up that money to start the coaching. I guarantee you, there's like a 95% likelihood that they're going to have a new reason come that next year for why they're not ready now. Now it's going to be like, well, I got the money, but there's some stuff happening at work. I'm a little worried, so I want to save this money until then. There is no readiness. There is no later. There's no time to get to when it's going to not feel uncomfortable, provided it's actually worth doing. The truth is, all there is right now. All there is for you to lean in. There's no reason that you don't have everything you want other than that you're not creating it, other than that you're not taking those steps that are there for you to take. So really invite you to set aside this concept of readiness. If you notice you're waiting for something, to actually put that aside and ask yourself, like, hey, if I actually stepped into this today, this instant, if I finished watching this video and went and took that on, what would I have to do? Like, what would suddenly shift in my life that I would have to start creating or making happen that I'm not willing, or that I'm delaying or procrastinating on, that I'm setting aside? What would I have to let go of? What would I have to stop controlling? That's where the real power of commitment shows up. It's when you commit to something, it actually pulls you forward. And that's what creates transformation. Much love.